Christ is in our midst.
He is and ever shall be.
The beginning of the gospel of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, as St. Mark says, this is the beginning of something. So since today we are celebrating what's known as the four feasts of the baptism of Christ, the Theophany, we'll talk about the forerunner, since tomorrow is the huge feast of the church. But look how the church prepares us. Always. There's always a little period of preparation for the great feasts, and then there's usually a nice after feast, sometimes a week. In the case of Pascha, like 40 days, etc. So our feasts, they sort of climb out of the calendar, and then they become these huge mountains. And then we gradually go off of them and then move to the next. So in preparation for this particular one, we have exactly the forerunner preparing us, but preparing at that time the people for the coming of the Messiah. They even ask him, are you the Messiah? Are you the one who we've been waiting for? And he says, I'm like a speck of dust. I'm not even worthy to tie his shoes. So he's coming, he's greater than I. And yet, Christ says of him, no greater one ever born of a woman. No greater human being. No greater person than this. How? With John the Baptist, with John the forerunner, unlike so many saints, it's really hard to relate to him. Because maybe none of us live in the desert on locusts and wild honey for years and years and years in anticipation of something. Even look at the elders who go out into the desert now. They have the fullness of the holy mysteries, the whole revelation of Christ. Everything has happened already, so they have at least that. St. John was just expecting. But look, he had the Holy Spirit. It says right in the scriptures. How is this one able to baptize Christ, obviously, but also how is he able to baptize people, right? And they somehow are receiving this grace. How did he get this Holy Spirit? Not by the laying on of hands, not by some kind of an ordination in this life. He was ordained, almost from his mother's womb. As Christ was in his mother's womb, sacred and holy, so was John the Baptist, He was preordained with this grace, and he lived up to it. Can you imagine living like that in the desert? And he wasn't lonely. When you're alone, often, long time like that, you get depressed. Many of us would lose our minds. Get depressed, get lonely, because we have a little bit more of releasing to do, a little bit more of disassociating ourselves with all the things that comfort us in this life. But John apparently had none of this. He had the Spirit with him all the time. He had the angels with him all the time. And he was on a mission. Quiet, hidden, secret mission for all those years. Where is he during all that time? In the cave, in the wilderness. Then he pops up on the shores of the Jordan River, and then we begin the beginning of the gospel of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And he tells the people to repent, for your salvation is at hand. So, in preparation, and in anticipation of a feast like this, which heralds baptism, which is the par excellence, icon of what baptism really is for us, in preparation for that, what's required? To give up everything evil in myself. To give up all my negativity, all the stuff that drags me up. I'll put it like this. All that makes me alone. All that makes me individual with my rights and with my opinions and with my feelings and all the rest of that. all of that, St. John says, repent of that. Repent of that. That's what's been tearing the world apart for all these thousands of years. And then he baptizes people. Just repent of all this selfishness. And he gives them some ability to receive the Holy Spirit in some mysterious Old Testamental / New Testamental way. It's a mystery what he's doing there. And especially when he comes in front of Christ. And he says, I can baptize you. See, by the power of the Holy Spirit, he knows who the salvation of the world is. And here he stands in front of me, bowing his neck before me, St. John says. How can I do that? But the Lord, in his magnificent, humble Messiah way, says, let us do this thing, and thus we will perfect everything. We will fulfill all the righteousness up to this minute. Trust me. And John obeys. He doesn't continue to fight, that silly kind of human fighting. Oh no, I can't do that. Oh no. We need to stop that. We do that a lot. Oh no, fake humility, fake falling and feigning and all of that. John hears the word. One word. He means, let us do this thing and we can fulfill all righteousness. He baptizes Christ and thus begins a brand new era where Christ then comes person by person and loves them. Now, did he receive that perfection because of baptism? No. When he was baptized, there's some very mysterious way you can say, he baptized John at that moment. He baptized all the people that John had baptized. He baptized the whole universe, the water and everything at that minute. Why? Because he's God. He's God coming into the creation now. And John is given the most special providential task from a long time, for all ages, of introducing the Lord into the creation. So just after the Theotokos, right? She's the one who brought him into the creation. And John, too, in a different way, brings him into the creation in this kind of fulfillment kind of way. That's why we have Nativity. The Theotokos brings her son into this life. And then we have, 12 days later? 13 days later? Now we have John the Baptist bringing the Lord Jesus Christ into the fulfillment of his creation and into his ministry, basically. No man greater ever born of a woman than the one that God blesses to do that thing. So how are we to relate to him? None of us live in the desert yet, or live alone and just live primitively and simply and don't worry about what we eat, what we drink, what we wear. The same teaching that Christ gave on the Sermon on the Mount, John had lived it prefigured. He had lived it already. He had been that person. And yet, as great as he was, look at his humility. He says in another place, I must decrease so that he can increase. And he had a lot of followers. He had a lot of disciples even. But he had a lot of people who loved him, and they used to come to the banks of the Jordan just to hear him preach these fiery words and to hear some hope in this struggle with the politics of the day. Do you think we have politics today? You should have seen the politics back then. And John was giving them words of life, words higher than politics, higher than governments, higher than empires, He was giving them the hope of the Messiah to come. And he knew it. And he knew it just as much as you and I know it. And he hadn't come yet. How is that possible? How did John know that in his spirit, who the Messiah was and what was to happen and all of that? You see what Christ teaches here? By the power of the Holy Spirit, you too, especially when you're receiving the mysteries, especially when you're receiving the grace of God constantly, 2,000 years later, where you have all the history, you have all the spirituality, you have all the saints who have shown you how to do it, and yet we still flounder somehow. We're still those people on the Jordan River saying, are you the Messiah? You know, we have him. Not only the Messiah, but the Christ, the God-man, the anointed one, the Savior of the universe. We have him. We have him. No more questions. No more floundering. No more like fuzzy around it. Why? Because John has already taught us something. How to live when we're like in the dark even. How do you live? You live strongly by faith. You live strongly in a life dedicated completely, not to the one who is coming, like he says, like he practices, but to the one who has come. How can your life ever be the same when you somehow eventually say in your heart, he has come. He has come for me. He has come for this church, my family. He has come to say, so what is left now that all is accomplished? He introduces us at the baptism to the Holy Trinity. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are there. The first full revelation, the New Testament revelation of God. What else is there after we see that, after we enter into that, after we experience that? I bring something up in my life and then I look at it and I say, oh, well, that's just kind of unimportant when related to this. Look at this man. He had no education. My gosh, he had no friends. He had no acquaintances. Yet he was the dearest friend of Christ. The dearest. The greatest. He had no place to live except, out there somewhere, right? And yet he was so close to the kingdom every minute of his life. And so what does that bring about in a person? That kind of faith, but it's more than faith. Like St. Paul says, faith is the certainty, the knowledge of things that we don't really know, but we know them. What does that bring about? It brings about the courage to live your life. Orthodox Christians, you have all the tools, all the ingredients that St. John had, and more in this life, to live your life courageously and to not be afraid. To get into the face of Herod and say, Herod, like getting into the face of, some very powerful person who could zap you immediately and destroy your life. He didn't care. He didn't fear. He didn't, worry at all about any of that. He got into the face of this king and said, you are living sinfully. Stop that immediately. Why? Because first of all, you're not a great example to the people, and you're supposed to be the king of Israel, etc., etc. You are sinning greatly, and you will perish. What brings that kind of courage to a person's heart? What makes that possible, right? Except living a certain life, not worrying about all the peripherals. And John made it so plainly clear. The peripherals are even eating and drinking. The peripherals are, like my wardrobe, my possessions, my house. They're all peripheral. Now, what if you just took all of that in your life and just laid it aside for a month or two and didn't think about it at all, right? You might get a glimpse of how John lived purposely and intensely his whole life. His whole life. And look what it results in. He doesn't have a million miracles while he's alive. In fact, the church says he doesn't have any. He didn't show us any. But his life, his whole, from the beginning to the end, was a miracle. Yeah. So, what if I can't, walk on water, or change water into wine, or do all the amazing things that Christ did and many of the saints did? But my life can be like St. John the Baptist, without, having to go to the desert. My life can be a miracle. And all it requires is that steadfast purpose, which is based ultimately in the love of God, but certainly in sure, faithful knowledge of Christ. And say, I'm going to live purposely this way, not relying on this, my mind, and all the intrigues that are, born there, my senses, St. John didn't know Christ by his mind. He didn't know Christ who stood before him at the baptism by his senses. Oh, I recognize him. How? From the womb. It's the only other time he encountered him before that. They were both in the womb, if you recall. divine seed was in his heart. Live by the divine spark inside of you. And you will be starting to realize the magnificent and holy and glorious life of the forerunner and of all the saints. But the forerunner, because he heralds, like the Theotokos heralds Christmas and brings Christmas about. So John brings this feast about. That's why we have to get a new icon, you know? The one where Christ is in the middle, the Theotokos, and John the Baptist, right? The Deus icon. Why is that icon existing? Because of everything I just said. Here she is introducing him into this world. Here he is introducing him into his creation. And two greater witnesses, two greater people. Never again. So that's why we have that icon. Because people always ask, well, why Christ and the Theotokos and John? Because they were given magnificent grace and also magnificent challenges. Because that's not an easy job to transition the God-man into the man part. You know, like in a very real and vivid way. You're called to do exactly that in your own life. To realize the divinity that you already have. To invite it all the time. You know how we always say, like, inviting the grace of God, inviting the grace of God, opening yourself up to the grace of God. To invite it here so much, first of all. And then, what's the word? Activate. To activate that energy. To activate that energy equals the God-man, equals the work that Christ has done uniquely so that you can do it personally in your own life. And by that, extend it to your family. To bring the divine energy into my family. To make my family like divine/human. To make our parish divine as well as human. To live the incarnation. To live this reality. So John, he had that all of that. He knew all of that. He experienced all of that pre-baptism, pre-knowledge of Christ, you know. Amazing. Maybe even pre-incarnation, you know, like before, while Christ was born and everything was still mysterious. Maybe even then. You know, God has very mysterious ways of bringing you from what you think is human life into real human life. Sometimes when we're stubborn, we can't change, you know, we're not going to move from there, what we think is real human life. He'll change everything around us. And he'll start small. Boom, 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 boom. And as we continue to be resistant and stubborn, and I'm going to stay right where I am because this is really human life. He'll change every circumstance, and they'll get more painful, and more painful, and more painful, and more, until we finally say, you know what? I'm tired of allowing my ego to be so wounded all the time by all these circumstances on the inside. Many people finally get it, maybe when we're near the end of that, all the changes and all the testing, right? But some never do. Some never do. John got it from the beginning. The saints got it at some point in their life, some very early, others even on their deathbed, or at the point of their martyrdom, right? So don't wait so long for all those external things to happen, because they will happen. And the ultimate one, the one which, if you don't have like an opportunity beforehand, is death, is departure from this life. So we have to like react, or let's say respond to all the invitation that Christ gave. He gives us a little setback, right? He gives us a little brush up with one of our neighbors. He gives us a separation from someone that we love. He gives us a little bit of sickness. He takes every job away from us. Lord, I can't keep a job. Something else is going on. You know, whatever. Take one, more one. And then we get finally to the real heavy duty, like I'm nearing the end of my life. Have I been able to respond to any of those like prerequisites first? And say, this is from God. This is for me. This is not something happening to me. This is something happening for me. Because I need something. You see? If you have the vision, the image of the Baptist, of the forerunner of Christ, right? Nothing is a mistake. Even when he questions, he says, Lord, I can't baptize you, right? See? There's earthly thinking there. In a kind of a divinely inspired way. He knows this is God. He says, I can't baptize you. But then the minute he hears that word, no external circumstances have to change around him. He just needs to hear that one word. Everything changes. He baptizes Christ. He baptizes the God-man. I wonder how he felt. I wonder what the impulse of his heart was after that. You know, you would think he'd be bursting, like he'd be exploding with joy and with zeal and with excitement and also with awe and trembling and all the rest of it. Live your life like that. In your non-desert, non-living, eating locusts, whatever way you're living, if it's not evil, if it's blessed, if you have a family, if you have, a house, whatever, if that's blessed, and surely it is, but is paying all my attention to all of that blessed. Because if it is, if that's what you're doing, if that's where we're living, paying attention, to all of the things that are moving around in my life all the time, you'll miss the moment. You'll miss that baptismal moment, that moment of the font, where Christ comes and says, please do this for me. You'll miss it. You won't even know it's Christ. And then even if you know, you'll fight with him and say, I can't do that. Be John. Be John. Simple, fiery, single-minded. And I think we'll get through the year 2020 just nicely.